Black art is culture.
Black art is freedom.
Black art is storytelling. It's vibrant.
Black art is dynamic. Depending on what it is, sometimes it hits us in our soul.
Black art is reflective.
Black art is radical joy.
Black art is everything.
Black art is energy. It's in everything that we do, every fiber of our being, in whatever medium we decide to concentrate in, that's art.
I thank God for always blessing me. I finally understand why he was stressing me. Just wanted me to keep growing from the less of me. Now it's destination destiny.
What I know about Black art in Nashville is that for us it was just Jefferson Street, right? Like that is where we prospered at, that is where we grew at, that's where Woodcuts is, that's where other galleries have been.
North Nashville has an amazingly deep artistic legacy that started with Fisk University and beyond. Fisk University has had so many amazing artists come through, Aaron Douglas, things like that, and TSU, Greg Ridley. I mean, there's just so I can name a million names of Black creatives that have stepped foot in North Nashville via visual, music, dance, all of them. And every kind of generation, there's like a push to bring those to light.
A gentleman named Carlton Wilkinson, he had a building on Jefferson Street, and he opened the first Black art gallery, aside from Fisk University's Van Vechten Gallery. But it gave local artists an opportunity to put their work on display, and that was huge because a lot of the mainstream galleries were not giving Black artists an opportunity to show their work. So that was a huge step in giving artists an opportunity to display their work. And then Mr. Nathaniel Harris, the owner of Woodcuts, opened up his shop. Unfortunately, we just lost an iconic figure in Mr. Harris, but when he turned that old hamburger ice cream shop into a frame shop and gallery, that was huge for Black artists because we now had another venue for showing our work and getting our work framed. And so those individuals played key roles in providing opportunities for artists.
Seeing what Woodcuts has always been is really what I want to become, right? Is that pivotal statement, staple in the community that when you go in there, you know what you're gonna get. African-American artists, beautiful art every time, established company doing this thing, for generations.
It was around 83, 84 when artists were starting to understand that it was important to come together, and we started meeting and talking about exhibit opportunities. We even formed an art organization that we called N4Art, for Nashville African American Artists Association. And we had some great meetings to not only build on the experience that we all had as artists, but to look for young artists to help them along in terms of getting started with their art careers. So that was huge in terms of the changing environment in Nashville's cultural arts community. A lady named Ann Brown was head of the Metro Arts Commission, and she had been up in New York during the Harlem Renaissance period. And so she contacted me and an artist colleague of mine, Michael McBride, and asked us to do murals in downtown Nashville, some of the first forms of public art in Nashville. And I was working at a community center called Edge Hill Center, where I was working with young people. And so those students and me and Mr. McBride started painting murals in downtown Nashville. And so people were walking by. We were down there during the height of lunch hour and everything. And, our kids were really disciplined because we didn't tolerate no nonsense. So we had our drop cloths out there and boom boxes going, and we were painting on the old Harvey's building in downtown. And people were coming by and asking if we were from New York. Are y'all from New York? And I was like, no, these kids are from right over in South Nashville. And, because of their excellence in creating art and because of their discipline in being focused on what they were doing, people were really impressed by that. But we were starting to show that Nashville had tremendous talent in the city of Nashville and that people should take advantage of it.
Nashville is a
It's an intellectual because you have all these universities here. It's a creative because you have a lot of art galleries, you have a lot of museums, you have a lot of coffee shops. A lot of people who are conscious with their expression are here. And at the same time, it's a networking city. A lot of people, they want to lend a hand, they want to help, they want to point you into the direction to, you know, how to get your dream started. Everybody knows here as an artist or as a person that we can all have a seat at the table and win. And being able to like just know that it's a way for artists to just flourish and basically come together and collaborate and be able to like, you know, bring impact with each other to different issues and topics here. And for the city to be able to kind of get a chance to know that and see that on a bigger scale is really, really a blessing.
You know, one thing that's different between Nashville and other cities, because in other cities, it's definitely based off like who you know, what, you know, how much money you got, how many followers you got, the labels. It's basically how well can you create this identity in other cities. And Nashville is the complete opposite. It's literally how raw are you, how authentic are you, how like emotional are you, which I had to literally alter my whole thought process in order to like survive here, which I absolutely love.
Before coming here to Nashville, I was a commercial artist. I worked in New York City, I worked in Seattle, I worked in Portland, I worked in London. And most of the things that I was doing was very commercial. So I literally working on the commercial industry. I make, you know, working corporate America type environments. And I started making, before I got here, I started making children's books, which was my first sort of venture into like, I'm making something because I love it, right? And that was beautiful. But when I stepped foot in Nashville is when I started working exclusively as a fine artist, right? So specifically creating things that is just for the joy of life, right? And that was supercharged by being here in Nashville. And let me tell you why. In Nashville, there's more HBCUs than anywhere else that I know about, right? So there is Meharry, there is American Baptist, there is Fisk, and there's TSU, right? And so when I did my first art show, shout out to the Vanguard, Nashville Vanguard, that invited me to do a show, all of the college kids showed up. I have no idea where this guy, it was a big warehouse and I just filled it with my stuff. I had no idea people, you know, up to this point, the only thing people have bought for me is like my books, my children's books. And you know, those are easy to buy, right? It's like, oh, it's beautiful, it's cute, you know. And I had just put out a children's book and he was doing really well. But when I did that show and the community showed up, and it was like an embracing, and I could never guess that a community would embrace that. But because there's so much of a silent, beautiful Black community here in Nashville, that work was able to sort of flourish. And I think that when I got here, there was this sort of grand embracing, you know, that I'm so grateful for the Nashville community, specifically the Black Nashville community, because they wrap their arms around me and they say, I love what you were doing. I love what you're doing. And to me, that was heaven.
Black art is profound. It's always telling a story. It may be a big story, maybe a small story, maybe something irrelevant. But regardless of what it is, you know, our stories, our pains, our struggles, our happiness, successes, all the things can translate into what we're doing in that art form. It's profound because, you know, we're all, like I said, we're all connected with one another. So regardless of what that medium is, it's going to tell a story.
Testing, 1, 2, 3, testing, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. My name is James Thrillkill, and I'm proud to say that I'm a full-time visual artist. I go back to first grade. I'm a product of 3 public housing communities in Nashville. And when I was in the first grade, my first grade teacher, Miss Stinson, who's now deceased, But I also always mention her because of the impact that she had on my development as an artist. She contacted my mother and said, "Miss Thrillkill, this boy is drawing in class all day." So she said, "I'm pretty sure he's going to be an artist." And so my mother, you know, she didn't chastise me. She said, "Look, it's okay for you to draw, but you have to do your schoolwork also." But she immediately started buying me art supplies, enrolled me in art classes, and made me feel special about this talent that I had. As we moved to East Nashville and I started going to East High School, after the 10th grade, I had this growth spurt and ended up having all this success in sports and still, you know, taking art classes and that type of thing. And so by the time I was a senior in high school, I was being recruited for football, basketball, and track. And so I had my pick of where I wanted to go to college, but it wasn't going to be any question about the fact that I wanted to be an artist.
But honestly, like, I love the sound it makes when I go like this. I want to announce when I come in the room. My name is Elise Kendrick, and I am a visual artist. I am a painter, printmaker, and I also tie-dye as well. My mom is actually an artist as well as my grandfather. So basically, I spent a lot of summers at camps with her while she was teaching. Growing up, if I said, like, I'm bored, she was like, "You're not bored. Go make something, do something, build something." And for me, it's always been like a part of who I am. I think as I kept evolving as a person, I never really thought of art as being something that I could do as a living. But one of my mom's friends actually encouraged me to kind of pursue that as a livelihood. And I think that kind of changed how I viewed art and what I wanted to pursue later in life.
Everybody's about to fall.
I know, everybody's
My name is Magpie Pollard. I'm a painter, muralist, and illustrator here in Nashville, Tennessee. I think I was in like 6th grade, 5th or 6th grade. I did like a Tar Wars contest, and I won like 2nd place, and I got to come to Nashville and like show my poster and stuff. And I was like, I can do this for real. This is cool. It was like because I'm from like a small town, so to be able to have it and like go to a big city and have it at like an event and stuff, I was like, I can actually do something with this. Because I have a lot of like creative women in my family that just do it as like a hobby and don't really think they can live off of it and make money off of it. So I was like, I'm gonna be the first to do it in the family.
My name is Clarence Edward. I am an art dealer, collector, enthusiast, and a curator. Being born and raised, and now I'm a Nashville native, been born and raised. I grew up at a point when gangs was like very heavy in Nashville, and I just didn't have an interest in it. You know, I didn't like the outfits, I didn't like the colors, and I was just like, I'm not the most group-oriented kind of dude, so I was like, I've always been like a lone wolf, and so in the midst of me being a lone wolf, what I learned is that the arts were a safe space for a lot of lone wolves and like eclectic, unique people. So I chose that route opposed to what was like very prominent in my neighborhood. And it just felt safe at that time. And it felt like it was a place where I can express myself and people thought I was like cool. You know, by then people were saying, okay, you're an All-American athlete and all of that. There's a good chance that you're going to go pro. And so after being recruited by Indiana University, Tennessee State, Notre Dame, Arizona State, I decided to go to Vanderbilt. And my mother pulled me aside and she said, "Now look, everybody's saying you're going pro, but you have to keep in mind that you could get injured. And if you do, you should never neglect your art." And sure enough, my 2nd year in college, I had an injury preseason that pretty much, put me on the sidelines for the season. But it really killed my pro football aspirations, even though I did try out with the USFL League. And so I just dove head first into something that I already loved, but even more motivation knowing that sports was not going to be the future for me in terms of my career. And so I graduated, and I had an uncle that lived in Chicago. And so I moved up there because Nashville at the time was really slow. I mean, the idea of being an artist in Nashville back then, this is like 1979, was unheard of. And so I moved to Chicago, and I had an aunt up there as well who
arranged for me to have an interview with Ebony Jet Magazine, the art director.
I think for a long time I wanted to be a social worker, and I think I'm way too emotional, like I get too attached. And for me it was kind of like, what do I do? I love helping people, I love connecting with people, but I can't turn that on and off. And so as a kid I always made jewelry. As you can see, like, I just love it, this is me. But this particular friend, she kind of said, like, this is kind of what you love to do, why not pursue that? And I think before that, even though my mom was an artist, I never really thought about it as being something that I could just go for as a career. So that kind of changed like my perspective, and so that's kind of what I set out to do.
My grandmother's a seamstress, and she just made stuff all the time. Like, she passed, I think, 6 years ago, 7 years ago. My mom still like gives me stuff from her because she just made stuff all the time. So just to like be gone and then still have stuff that you're like finding from her, like just random things that she made.
I got all I need in this name. This was for the sons and the daughters. If I got Elohim, I'm okay.
Yeah, tell me what more can you say to me? Really, man, there ain't no phasing me.
I didn't think that people cared about what I made, you know, because I would just make stuff and keep it to myself. But then when I got here, started doing shows and people wanted me to do stuff, I was like, this is crazy. Like, you like me? You like my stuff?
I think when I was young, Oprah Winfrey said, I used to get my hair cut by her dad. I lived on Lishi Avenue, and his shop was directly across the street. And so I've always been like kind of tied to Oprah and her path, just almost unintentionally. It just kind of like was part of my journey. I remember she said that, from her words, I deserve to be around beautiful things. And when she said that, she probably didn't say that verbatim, but in the realm of that. And I was like, I do too, you know? And it stuck with me. It almost stuck with me too much because my mother was like, who did I raise? Because I don't have the money for this. So I always worked because I was like, I want to be around beautiful things. And if Oprah said it, I can do it too, you know? And what comes with beautiful things is aesthetics. And then aesthetics, who create the aesthetics? Artists. And so those things have always been a pathway to like my love for art and beauty and aesthetics and colors and textures. And in my head, I am like adamant about living my life around beautiful things. Every aspect of my life has to be around beauty.
This type of happiness cannot be purchased with likes and virality. Hey, I'm just trying to paint a picture. Welcome inside of my gallery. I call them Jericho.
So I'm getting on the bus up there in Chicago, this little Nashville country bumpkin with this huge portfolio, because I just love painting big images. I'm getting on the bus, bumping people upside the head and stuff, and I know they were like, who is this country bumpkin up here? And so I finally got to the Jet Magazine building, and when I went in and had a meeting with the art director, Mr. Herbert Temple, he looked at some of my images. He flipped through about 6 pieces, and he was like, So I'm sitting there waiting for him to tell me how phenomenal my work is. And he said, your work is really good. You're really talented. But he said, why are all your images black? And I'm like, wait a minute. Didn't I just come in Ebony Jet's office? That's the last question I thought I would have gotten from the art director. But he said, I can detect that you're talented, but you want to demonstrate that you can paint a variety of subject matter, a variety of themes and people and landscapes and fruit and still life. And so instead of getting an attitude and like, man, you don't know what you're talking about, you know, I said, sir, thank you for that advice. I'll immediately apply it to my work. And so today, because I am very diversified in the kinds of images that I paint, my client base has expanded exponentially because I can pretty much accommodate any taste. And it's interesting when you know, white clients come and say, can you paint a portrait? I'm like, I can paint anything, you know, and that advice from him served me really well.
As an artist in Nashville for a long time, and kind of still is, it's like the boys club. There are a lot of male artists. I think kind of starting out, there was a lot of also abstract artists. And so for me, that's not what I do. And so For a long time, I painted a lot of like celebrities, and I painted a lot of dog portraits because people liked their dogs to be painted. And I made money from it, but it wasn't fulfilling. And so I think maybe the last like 2 years, I kind of have changed what I've done, and I've kind of focused on things that are important to me. And that's like my culture, my upbringing, being a Black woman, representing people of color, because I want people that look like me or people that are maybe disenfranchised to see the beauty in who they are. Because oftentimes we see so many people that are like not melanated, and they're always featured in museums. When it comes to the art in general, the people represent it, it's very one-sided. And so for me, it was like I wanted to create art that could stand in white spaces, but also take up space. Because for a long time, I think I was very quick to quiet that for myself. Like as a kid, I was quiet. I read a lot of books, and I didn't want to like make too many waves. But as I get older and evolve, I want people to see like they deserve to be represented. They deserve to be seen.
I think like people like vulnerability. They don't know how to do it sometimes, or be vulnerable, or know how to express it, or how to make it into like a actual form where you could look at it, you know? But I think like once you find out how to do that, people get more drawn to you because they want to be able to do that because they don't know how to, but they have that feeling or that connection towards a piece you made, you know? So like if I made something where I was like going through like a bad breakup or something and I didn't like the piece but I showed it anyway, like people can feel how vulnerable I was in that piece and know that it came from a different place. But just being vulnerable and expressing yourself in that way, people are drawn to it and want to do it too if they don't know how to.
So I left Nashville at 17. I graduated high school 2007, and it was a whole completely different Nashville. It's not the Nashville that we had today. And so the majority of my adult life was in Memphis, Atlanta, and then New York for a long period of time. So I didn't know much of what was happening in Nashville unless it was like a Native magazine, or if my brother told me. I would come home during the holidays to, you know, see my family, and I would host pop-up shops and art exhibitions in Printers Alley, and then like smaller industrial spaces like in Thanksgiving, and I would like, that's how I was able to keep up with a lot of the visual artists that was in Nashville. I would host art shows, and then I would leave. So I didn't get a good full view of what was going on in Nashville. I heard about the transition. It wasn't until the pandemic happened that I found out that Nashville was like about to drastically change.
Forgive, forgive, forgive. Let it go, forgive.
During the pandemic, I literally had a chance to sit down and I read BuzzFeed, I read Reddit, and all these articles, and Nashville was on a lot of top 10 lists. But I'm not seeing or reviewing anything referencing the arts at all. All I'm hearing is music, restaurant, hot chicken, hotels. But one thing about hotels, if hotels are coming, they mean tourists are coming and things are growing. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. And then my brother Terrence, who owns the PSV store, opened the PSV store, and he invited me to come back home to help him like design it, just the decor. So I came back home that November, and I was like, oh my God, Nashville is going crazy right now. So I honestly didn't know the arts community at all, really. I didn't know what the dynamics of what the art scene was in Nashville. I knew that I had this experience in New York. I knew that there was a heavy amount of a transplant that was coming here to dominate. And I knew that as a native, I did not want the the foundation to disappear. And I say, you know what, I'm gonna move back home and I'm gonna make it my point to make a statement to let people know that there's a visual arts scene here, but also as a native, I want them to know what I've learned in other cities and how I can execute it here.
Black art is me. It is my past, my present, it is my future. It is an expression of a lost culture, but a connection and collaboration of this new one. My name is Elishaba Israel Morozic. I am a Memphis native, currently residing in Nashville, Tennessee, and I own One Drop Ink Tattoo Parlor, Queen Bee Ink LLC, and I'm the president of the North Nashville Arts Coalition. I love to do public art and murals purposefully because in a world of swipe 20-second maybe attention span, to get somebody to pause and take a real look at stuff is hard. And so I like to do large scale things that have lots of layers so that you can't just see it on a glance by. Like something's catching your eye and you stop and you want to take a look at what it is and what does that mean and think about things. Public art, even though I don't have the budget to put 1 billion ads on everything like these companies do, public art is something that can stay in a place that people frequent often, that they see every day, and that'll give them that twinge or reminder of something that's good.
My name is Shabazz. I am an artist, author, father, poet. You know, I'm always trying to accomplish so much with the things that I'm creating. But at its baseline, the work that I'm doing across the board has the intention to be and exist unapologetically, right? Like I don't need to show you. I used to try to, oh, look how beautiful we are. I don't even need to do that. I just need to put the spotlight and just see what it is.
I would love to see more outside the box kind of thinking and projects. That though comes with support. You need money to do experimental and new work.
You know, like the artists in Nashville have a hustle. It's a different kind of hustle. You know, I've gotten a chance to play with artists in other cities. And it's visual artists in some other cities, they really got a cushy situation. You know, people are spending hundreds of thousands of dollars for the work. You know, whether it be sculptures or paintings or some digital type things, you know, like people are really doing it. And those things are slowly coming to Nashville as well. Those opportunities are slowly coming to Nashville, but they're few and far between. And that's because we're running in a different sort of ecosystem.
I'd say we have to support each other. We have to support. That's just reality, you know. We have to, I can't even say it no other way. We have to, we could say community all day, but if we're not supporting each other and also financially support each other, I'm fortunate enough to have a lot of the bodies to come into the space, but the financial sector of it is like you have to actually spend money, you know, on the art, on the drinks, on the merch, on, you know, on what's available in order for us to sustain.
Here's the thing. I'm no expert on fundraising. I'm an artist, I like to draw pictures. I just believe when I walk into a room, I'm not gonna be afraid to ask the questions. So I show up for all these meetings. And I ask them, oh, how do I get that money to Bordeaux? How do I get that money in East Nashville? How do I get it into our communities? I ask the questions. You know, actually, it's more than the rooms that I'm in. In most cities, there are multiple avenues of how this gets done. And here are 2 avenues that I'm starting. There's 3 avenues that I'm familiar with. One avenue is private collectors, right? So you got people who got lots of money, they come and they buy stuff, right? So every sort of community around the world has some kind of private collector. Even small country people, country communities, rural communities that have private collectors. People buy, you know, depending on where you are in the world, and you know, there's different kinds of, you know, financial systems that comes with us, you know, private collectors. That's one way. The second way is through a museum system, right? Where people can, you know, where museums come in and they identify talent, they sort of support them, they do all kinds of programming around them, and they buy and collect art. Nashville has 0 collecting art museums, right? So that system isn't in place here. So, you know, I have a collaboration that I've done with the Frisk Museum right here in town, and they didn't commission a work, but they paid me a fee to show something, which is nice, right? But they're not collecting that piece. They're not keeping that. That is not staying in their circulation. So that story is sort of like, you know, that shows up and it's gone, right? So the Frisk is not a collecting museum.
You know, the main thing that we need as Black gallerists and just Black gallery owners and curators and whatever, we need collectors, right? We need buyers. We need people that are coming to the table that are purchasing artwork from us on a monthly basis, right? That is the most pivotal thing that I have noticed that is necessary in Black art in Nashville.
And then there's the third avenue that I know is through government funding, right? So every city allocates a little cut of their budget to go towards arts education, arts programming throughout the city, public art projects, right? So Nashville has that last one, right? You know, we're that first one, we're educating the private collector base, right? That takes however long time that takes. That's growing since, people are coming here from all over the world. But that grant piece, the sort of like public funding piece is the real changing lever.
Me and a lot of other Black creatives here in North Nashville were really frustrated in trying to get gallery space to show our work, gallery representation, things like that, so that we could grow our art career. We would get called for tokenized stuff like Black History Month shows and things like that. And so we decided to come together and start the Jefferson Street Art Crawl back in 2015. And that was a way for us to have space and place to share our work with the world and with our community. And my tattoo shop and a woodcuts art gallery with Mr. Nate Harris that just passed away, as well as the Garden Brunch, which used to be down at the end of Jefferson, opened up our spaces to put local artists' art in and then invited the community out. And it was a great success. It turned into the North Nashville Arts Coalition, and our goal is to empower and support creatives so that they can equitably thrive, creatives of color. We really want to get a permanent home for the arts here in North Nashville so that Black artists and artists of color can have housing that's actually affordable, because the way they determine affordability here is a 30-mile radius, including Franklin, Brentwood, all the big money, high dollar neighborhoods. So of course affordability is going to be like $2,500 a month, because you've got people paying millions and millions of dollars over here. That's not equitable. That's a lie. It's a farce. And we really want to make truth to light how equity actually looks and what that looks like, and implement that here in North Nashville. But other big cities all have an appropriate art program. So like if you go to Minnesota, okay, they have an amazing art program. Amazing. Their Percent for Art program funds individual artists, organizations, small arts orgs. They have so much art money that they don't even be filling all of them sometimes. And they're made for people who live and work there. It's amazing how much public art they have and how much community engagement programs they have. Of course, cities like New York and LA and things like that have amazing programs. But places like Houston has a phenomenal art scene, Black art scene.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how does it compare to,
Nashville doesn't. Nashville doesn't have it. We don't have like some big art patron scene here. We've only got one museum, Frisk Art Museum, which is awesome. I've been working with them a lot, and they are definitely one of the larger orgs that really does bring in community in a lot of different ways. Our first gallery museum show with the Jefferson Street Art Crawl people who started it, we got to do the murals of North Nashville now at the Frisk, and it was a museum, a regular kind of museum before that. Picasso came through, blah blah blah, and it was not as accessible. And as they begin continuing reaching out and exploring those ways, they found so much more that has broadened and opened their museum up to get more people in, more people supporting the arts, more people wanting to know about the other shows that are coming up, because it reflects the community that they're a part of.
I know I'm trying, but you think I'm lying. You say you're finished, no need for crying. Wait until you see that truth in front of your eyes. I done put in work now, girl, into your surprise.
I saw the other day that they just approved a $650,000 sculpture to go down in a part of town that our community isn't at, right? And then they're doing a commission to do a sculpture in a community where we are at for $100,000. I'm asking people, what can we do for this amount of money? Oh, we can put up a little brick wall. Ain't nothing we could do. Ain't nothing we could do. So the disparity there, and here's the question. So why is it, how do we get that kind of money in these neighborhoods over here, and black neighborhoods?
What Nashville really, really needs is a dedicated Percent for Art program that goes to individual and local artists and supports them. If I didn't have access to the Metro Arts Thrive program, then I would not have been able to get funds to start doing more larger scale murals and understanding how working with institutions and large corporations is, how to do budgets, how to create a plan when I have to work with other people. Having access to that is something that boosted my own resume so that I could grow my business as a professional artist and creator, and now know how to handle those things so I can take on larger budgets and win more awards. And so if we can get arts funding and arts support better here, Music City will insanely blow up. You know how much I've done with less than $20,000? And they won't invest in the people that are around here to do that, to be able to do that. It would be pennies they would have to give for all of these artists to grow full forests.
In order for us to invest in our community, we gotta ransack our community. We gotta rip it up from its roots and invite the builders and we gotta invite all the people that wants to ransack our communities already. We gotta invite them in order for us to invest in art into our own city. Come on, what kind of ridiculousness is this? For a community that's built this city, the way that they're treating us is ridiculous. But here's the beautiful thing about your documentary, is that we out here and we're figuring it out.
My nonprofit is working with some foundations to try to get some funding to be able to support those kind of endeavors and get money into the hands of artists who want to try new and unique ideas that can push boundaries of thought, that can push boundaries of interaction, that push boundaries of culture. And we want to fund that. We want to give artists that platform, and we're really working hard to do so. And we're really working hard to fund this org so we can have a full-time effort on these things.
The black artists in this city have banded together. We're banding together to do all kinds of beautiful things together. We're working together. We're exchanging ideas and information, and we're about that life. So we're doing all that we can. There's a beautiful movement here of artists that are working tirelessly with our community to change that perspective and change that point of view.
This is how the art community in Nashville has changed from the days when I was just starting out as an aspiring artist out of college. I mean, there wasn't a lot of opportunities to exhibit work. You didn't have a lot of collaboration or networking among the arts community. There definitely wasn't any funding being allotted to arts program, especially in community-based programs. Fast forward to the day, you have public art all over the community. You see murals and other types of things being done, and I'm so proud of the North Collective, the black artists in North Nashville who started doing these incredible murals all over the place and ended up having an exhibit at the Frisk. Some other artists, Alicia Israel, doing some incredible work, Amari Booker. So now we're showing all over the city. You know, mainstream galleries are doing exhibits of our work. Artists are collaborating. And so now funding from the city is going to artists to collaborate with community organizations. And it's just a vibrant community where there was a time when Nashville had a particular art project they were trying to pursue. They would always go outside of the city looking for artists when they had all these talented artists here in Nashville. And so artists actually started speaking up saying, you know, we want to be given consideration for some of these creative opportunities that you're looking elsewhere for.
You know, my friend Evan Brown, who works with me in the museum and also has, you know, curated a number of shows where he's invited me to be a part of. You know, the work that he does in making space for us is important. It's so important, it's tantamount. Because without people like him, not the artist makers, the people making space for the artists, you know, without them, who else is going to make space for us?
Black art is such a beautiful, complex, but important part of the world that we live in.
Evan Roosevelt Brown from Nashville, Tennessee, independent curator and art consultant. I've been in the art scene in Nashville for the last 3 years, very much so like in the art scene now, right, for the past 3.5 years. Before that, you know, was just doing some other things, curating some projects, working on some things through Slim and Huskies, some just creative direction and things like that. But had not like put myself in the scene. And so, you know, when Inca Gallery came along, it allowed me to really, you know, prosper and get into the mix, right? And then start developing what is my namesake, what is, you know, what I wanted to put forth in the art scene in Nashville. And so I then got to start working with a lot of different artists in Nashville and start putting them on stages maybe that they hadn't had before, or, you know, put them in galleries because they had not had gallery shows before. And so it allowed things to grow from there.
My name is Taylor Walton. I do physical art, I guess like collage, printmaking, and painting. Nashville, when I first moved here, seemed to kind of be in flux, but you saw people kind of in the woodworks building little pieces of like what would become a pretty fruitful movement, whether that's, you know, people like Sinclair and Jonathan, or whether that's people like Clarence over at C Gallery, or even Terrence at PSV Store, or even Cashville. Like, you got people that are putting on for a city that ultimately doesn't put on for them. And in a lot of ways, because we'd already felt like that, it was easy to gravitate to these people. It was easy to support these movements and feel part of a community that was, you know, actually coming together to support each other. In those coming years, so much of what New Nashville has become is because of us in the Black arts.
My name is Christian Sinclair. I go by Sinclair. I'm a full-time communications manager for a pharmaceutical company. I'm also the founder of Soul Creative Collective, a creative 501c3 organization we founded 2 years ago right here in East Nashville. Providing spaces for Black artists and creatives is 100% necessary. Because there is no designated space for us to be and exist. And if they are, they're in these institutions where the founders or the board don't look like us, or the art that's surrounding it doesn't look like us, or even it's only telling a very specific niche part of our story. So having these spaces to where it's diverse and innovative and inclusive, and telling a story where it is intentional, is our number one important thing. There is no space in Nashville for us to be and to gather and to celebrate the arts and to celebrate, you know, who we are as creatives in town. So we try to go to places where we're, you know, underappreciated or spaces where there's not many people that look like us, and we show up and show out.
My name is Jonathan Wynn. I'm the co-founder of Soul Creative Collective. I'm a writer, I'm a creative entrepreneur, and I'm a barista. Our foundational principles is community, creativity, and education. Me being from Stone Mountain, Georgia, being in Atlanta, we saw a lot of creatives in the city have community programming for us as a kid. And for me, and a lot of the local community people here, we want to do a lot of programming so they can see that arts is a way to be, is basically something to be celebrated here, something to be, you know, put on a pedestal or put high. And so we try to make sure we give basically the local talent a way to see that.
One thing I'm loving that people are literally educating themselves and learning how to show their work, and they're gaining confidence in showing their work. And I think that the arts is visual arts is catching up to music. You know, I've always identify them as cousins in a sense to me, but that's one thing I am noticing, that more people are having more gallery shows, more people are feeling more confident not to depend on galleries, and they're executing their own shows, they're doing their own programming. So that's one thing I am noticing in Nashville that I love that's happening, and I want to continue to be a part of that.
I think that we need to have representation of, or a more varied representation. So oftentimes when I go to events, I see the same people, and that's great, but I also meet so many people that are talented, that have a voice, that want to say something, but it's kind of hard to get into those spaces. And for me, I've been lucky enough to kind of be involved and be a part kind of slowly the past couple of years. But for those who don't have that access, it's how do we get them into those same rooms where they can also represent who they are and show what they do? Because there are so many talented people in Nashville. I know that we're the music city, but it's also a home of a lot of artistic people. But sometimes it's hard to kind of see the true versatility that we have.
In ways, Black curators and Black gallerists need spaces, right? We need to be able to show our art, show African American art more often, right? And not just maybe certain times of the year, or at another gallery. We need spaces that we can house our own artwork. And then also maybe having our own art district, right? North Nashville has been a hub, right? It goes from TSU all the way to Bordeaux, if not further, right? And so all of that should be flourishing with Black art.
My name is Brittany Drake, and I am an artist here in Nashville, also the co-founder of the Black Art Market. The Black Art Market is for Black artists of all kinds, from just starting to pro, advanced, been selling for years and years. We have no age limit in coming and joining the event, because again, I seen that need to encourage other artists around the city to go ahead and step out there. Because going back to my story, when I first started, I wasn't taking it seriously, but I think that was a part of my confidence level in it, not being sure. So I wanted to give other people that confidence and going ahead and stepping out there, kind of being sure of what God has, led them to, and bringing their community to them instead of them having to go out to the community.
Art gives inspiration to somebody who never known what their dreams are, or who may not know what their dreams are yet. And I say that more so in a sense because God gave us gifts. Sometimes we need help finding out how to use those gifts. And so art, through different ways, give us a visual, give us a way for us to kind of see it and feel it and talk about it. And with that, it's a way to, drive the culture and drive change and help progress us as people and as a community.
Art speaks a language. It brings people together. It bridges that gap between creativity and people and provides community within folks. We have to protect the Black arts. Everyone is artistic in their own way. We see art in different facets in media like dance, film, photography, videography. It's not just one set medium. So protecting the Black arts and amplifying the Black arts is our number one very important goal and mission with Sold, just to bring people together. Even if you aren't an artist or a creative per se, we still try to provide those spaces to where the Black arts are celebrated and appreciated. To create these beautiful vessels of work.
Vessels was like this cohesive idea around, you know, the artists themselves being a vessel, the art that they put forth being the vessel, and then the buyer, the consumer, the viewer, you know, leaving as a vessel after seeing this work, right? Become that vessel. What do you see? What is it? What is this invoking in you? And then how do you walk away, right? And what do you become from that?
Welcome to the gallery. I've been painting with sound. Took a couple detours, went away from the route. It don't really make sense, I can figure this out. How he found me, I remember at a young age, had this dream. Now I create and I make waves to watch him stream. 2016, late nights, didn't see much sleep. We kept growing.
And so that was, you know, to me, probably one of my favorite curations, honestly, that really, you know, I will say that really like started my career as a curator, honestly, because I had to put forth thought and idea and concept, and I believe curators are conceptual artists because it's a concept, it's an idea that they put forth, and then they find the art that speaks to that.
It holds like visual stories, right? So like some things that you might not be able to express through dance or like writing, you can visually see it. And it also holds emotion behind each piece with even like the colors that they choose. It can hold, you know, the history behind one piece, kind of giving like where it was placed and all this stuff. Similar to making a film, really. You know, you have your shots, like the tone of it, everything matters in the piece. And so I think when people visit here in Nashville and they see the murals and they see the different events, the different types of artists that we can be, because it's not just painters, right? Like we have sculptors, we have writers, like those are all artists in a sense. So just being able to see their vision in reality is like super amazing.
Not all art has to tell a story, but art is subjective within itself. Being able to have something on screen or as a photo or a video or a painting even to tell that story or that journey that you're in your life right now, I think that's really moving and really empowering. And as a curator myself, just trying to find these artists and trying to find these visionaries essentially who are trying to tell their story through their work has been monumental essentially with my business partner and my organization now. So yeah, I think it's really important because we tend to overlook the little guy a lot in the art world and the art scene. So by having those spaces to amplify a whole host of creatives in town, that's our number one goal, by telling their story and what they go through and their vision of the world and their vision of, you know, sometimes even just in their backyard.
You know, Nashville art scene, it needs us more than ever, right? To allow it to prosper, allow it to grow, allow it to be fruitful, allow it to be different. And, you know, I love working with artists. I love working with creators. It just feels good to be seen in the art scene in Nashville, knowing that everything around us is some type of music, right? But in the landscape that I work in, it's about art.
Girlie, 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 oh Miss Girl, you sweet on my love. Your hair gives me love. It's fly like a dove, sweet in the touch.
Black art is a footprint to our culture here in the world. We usually have fossils, we usually have time stones that has our like collective items and things like that. When it's years from now and they look back on how was Nashville or how was Nashville in 2024, they're gonna see black art that was created during this time and understand that was this is who we were and this is what we were about. And I truly believe black art is a way for people, of course, outside our culture, but also from years from now to understand our stories.
I'm Reggie Wayne. I am a self-taught artist from Memphis. It started just like any kid, drawing, doodling, tracing stuff that I couldn't draw, trying to figure out how to draw it. But for me, for the most part, it was my mother and my sister. They both were curators, so I kind of just followed their path. And as a family, everybody's just really good at doing arts.
My name is Charles Key. I go by Jamerson GC. I am a creator. I do large-scale murals, acrylic paints, and oil paintings. I had a passion for it, and once I got hooked on it, it was just like I wanted to paint and create all day. I just made up a decision that I was going to use my God-given talent from here on out because I've been suppressing it and I've been working for the devil for a long time. And so that was a fork in my road as far as my life goes. I would say art changed my life and saved my life at the same time. I come from a family of gangsters and hustlers, and that was just what we was told that we were gonna do too. So I feel like I'm breaking a whole lot of generational curses, especially for me and my kids. We always have been entrepreneurs and educators, but we always had this other side of us too. And I'm so grateful. Like I said, art, I know that this is the way.
I kind of abandoned art completely. And I didn't pick it back up until I was an adult and I was living in West Virginia. I had no friends, no family there. So to keep me occupied and keep me sane, I just started creating, and I started posting and people started liking it. And then, I sold my first piece and I got the big head, and I decided if I can do it once, I can do it again. And it just was a snowball effect. And
I use history and education to promote my artwork. I wouldn't paint Scarface with a gun on the side of a building. I want for the kids to have a dialogue, to look at Malcolm X and say, who was that? Or, just to kind of start a conversation. And that right there will build a community and kind of grow. So I'm very careful with what artwork I put on the building. And I want it to have meaning. I just don't want to throw up artwork because I can. I want to educate because I am an educator. I'm a school teacher myself, so I would like to leave that legacy as far as when, he make historical pictures and people to look at. We forget a lot of people a lot of times, but when you see a picture, you go back to that time period. So pictures are really powerful.
Most of the work that I create now is created for the purpose of, motivating or just making people feel better, heal. So that's the takeaway I want people to feel or think about when they look at my art. I want them to take away like, oh, I was feeling that way too, or now I'm encouraged. In this one piece, you may have 5 or 6 different things that all tie together, but they will motivate you, but they all come together to tell one story.
I want you, first of all, just to have some type of emotion, good or bad. And if I did that, then I did kind of my purpose. But I also want you to look at it and analyze it. I have a lot of subliminal and hidden messages in my artwork at the same time. So if you really kind of look at it and study it, then you will see a lot of intricate details and other things that you might not have seen just by glancing at it. So I would want people to just really look and study my art and find those hidden meanings, because I always throw them in there.
Generally speaking, I want people to feel I guess surprised. Like I do think that I want people to kind of be like taken aback, maybe initially, just by like, you know, seeing something that they haven't before. I do want to always have a little bit of like a wow factor, just in terms of like, hey, that's a unique way to do something like that. Like obviously everyone knows someone that can draw, but not every two people do it the same. And so I try to make sure that I'm at least putting more of myself into it. So I want them to feel like they're kind of getting a piece of me. On the other side of that, obviously I am Black, so I want people to feel represented when they see my work as well.
I want people to feel seen and like feel loved, you know, because I think a lot of my pieces, they come from my younger self. So for someone to see it, it feels very vulnerable, but for them to like connect with it and be like, that made me feel this way. And I'm like, that's what I felt too when I did it. So I love that you feel that through my piece too, you know, so just to feel seen and to feel love and any type of joy that can be transferred.
One day I just said, I'm gonna take the palette knife and just create an entire painting with the palette knife using non-traditional colors in different places on the painting. And when I took those public, the response was so overwhelming that it has now become my signature style. And so to now see people at art shows just flock to my booth and they're enamored with the colors and the texture and that kind of thing. And you know, when I do little girls as superheroes and how you know, parents want to buy that because they want to have that motivational image for their child, you know, little Black girls with capes on as superheroes or wings like angels, and then even doing the beautiful textured hair that Black women have are things that, you know, I can tell people are empowered by. And so for someone who grew up, when I was looking at cartoons on Saturday mornings, you know, Bugs Bunny was on the cartoons, but it was a very stereotypical image of a Black person. I mean, the big lip, the big nose, the buck eyes, and all of that kind of stuff. And so those kind of images were prevalent when I was growing up. And so as an artist, I said that I can create an alternative to that. And so now when you look at my work, you're going to see things that uplift, that motivate, that show pride in our culture. And people study civilizations by looking at the art. So if they look back at the art that I created during this period, they're going to see a very proud and empowering type of work that I've created. And I'm proud of that fact.
Most of my art, I try to hide different things within the painting. A lot of times you're not able to see it on picture, but if you're in person and you see it, you might be able to like, oh, that's what that is. Or, so I would say it's unique, kind of like a mystery maze within the art.
I would describe my art style as bold, hardened, and layered.
My art style in 3 words would be epic, educational, and spontaneous.
I would describe my art as abstract, realism, and Afrocentric.
Vibrant, expressive realism.
I would describe my art style as, most of the times, colorful, dynamic, and Black.
Don't you be afraid to dream. Remember, every flower started from a seed. Though you feel like everything is make-believe, good things happen when you dream. Yeah. This one's for the child in me. There'll be days when growing up ain't what it seems. And other times, guard your heart with everything. Cause good things happen when you dream.
Black art is expansive, right? That's my term, right? I want it to be as you know, expand Black art in every shape, form, fit, function, whatever.
How we can make Nashville the Black art mecca for the South is to keep pushing the boundary, keep, you know, going in spaces where being in spaces where not a lot of us are, keep having those events there and making those network and connections with folks in these institutions and galleries and things like that, just so they understand that the Black arts is very valuable. Black arts is beautiful, and it's just not this one specific thing. And I keep going back to that because I think it's important to understand art is subjective, and there's different means and medias of art. Because most people, I'll kind of give you a story too. I used to work for the First Art Museum, as a communications coordinator there. And people are like, oh my God, you work for such a illustrious institution. I'm like, yeah, sure. Yeah, it's fine art. Yeah. But our number one thing for the museum, because it is a nonprofit, is everyone is welcome here. We want everyone to experience the art. But we have to break that stigma. We have to break the stigma of fine art is a very, top 1% type of thing that only certain people can enjoy. Everyone is an artist in their own individual way. It's just a matter of how you express that and how you decide to execute those artistic abilities.
I think they can go by just supporting anybody who is doing anything, like whether they're doing the film, whether they're doing an event, whether they need a muralist and they want to hire somebody who is Black, like just continue and support the people who are already doing the art, buying the art, anything. So if they open up a building, you know what I'm saying, reach out to the Black artists first to kind of see what they have instead of just going with the status quo or like the modern vibe or whatever you want to call it. So I think that's how it can continue to just support those who are already in it.
It's not one person's responsibility to try and impact the community. It's really the community's responsibility. So in my personal case, I think me making work and making conversation, creating opportunities to share with others what I do, I think that's what I can do at least to start. I would love to maybe, assist other people in similar efforts in just creating more ways for people within the city and even outside to recognize how important arts can be in upholding a community.
Normally there's no color. The projects have gray bricks. You go to the school with gray bricks. And a lot of times school to prison is that path, and even in prison is gray bricks. So I think color therapy is real good, especially for a child to grow up in a colorful area. I think it just helps out with emotions and make you feel a certain way. McDonald's use red and orange. You're red and yellow to make you hungry. So a lot of times color does affect us in certain ways that we really don't know until you break it down. So I believe color, yeah, especially for the kids. I would rather go out and see flowers and a dinosaur on the side of a wall than just a plain gray wall, especially if that's all I look at.
And I think it's already been in effect on the community because they have a lot of community events where the kids come out and paint with the different artists. And like you said, they paint the murals and on the walls. I've seen art on sidewalks and the pavement that we walk on. So I think impacting with the community is going to happen. It has to happen. Kids kids are the best artists because they're so innocent and they have a different perspective on art that a lot of adults wish they had. It's like a carefree. So to get them involved, and you kind of see that a lot now. So I think that impacts the community because I think now they're getting more educated about art and how you can be successful in art and how far it can take you. Just the art awareness.
When I was able to have my micro exhibition at the Frisk Museum in Nashville, it was super cool. I will say when I had my opening, I saw the impact that it made. And people that I didn't know were just excited to be featured in a museum that, not to say they don't feature other Black artists because they do, but it was the element of feeling seen. And I had people DMing me and posting things and sharing about their experience or their children. And I think it is so important to have representation, because a lot of times it's like we base things on what we see. And if I only see this version, I don't know, not that I can't attain it, but I feel like in my mind maybe it's harder because I haven't seen someone that looks like me do that. And so it really allowed me to see the impact that I could make, but also like, while it was special to me, it was also special to other people.
What art can do in the Black community is not only change thought, but it can change the look, the design, it can change the landscape, it can change the identity of a community. Seeing Black art in spaces and maybe in some of the city buildings and some other places that you wouldn't expect it changes the dynamic.
When our art forms can get back to having a purpose, to get back to the movement of people, I think that is when our art forms step into its genius, right? Historically, in this city of Nashville, this is our history. Our history, the vibe, the air of this city. If you know the culture of Black Nashville, you know it's a culture of change the world.
Started with a thought, then some action. Finally found me a path in life that I can chase with passion. They want me checking my wristband for the plays I'm reminded. Check down to my own, I'm clearing house till my time ends. Coach don't really care much as long as we winning. NCAA, they ain't the only company pimping. Y'all hiring, y'all fine. Reminiscing on bad thoughts, think back to July 4th.
Former Tennessee Titan Steve McNair has passed away. That's right. Former Steve.
Drunk on the sidewalk, woke up, Steve McNair gone. What? Imagine that, you barely see Black quarterbacks as one. Starting in your city, showing hard up in your city. Carrying the heart up in your city, where they don't even recognize the artists in your city that look like you. Picture this as infrastructure here. Somehow we ain't factored in the structure here. Police department, they do us no justice here. Be feeling like it's really just us here. And most of the time, shit, we don't even trust us here. It's like they stuck us here.